Hi everyone, this is Bruno from House of Falcone, and I cannot believe today has been a long time coming. The visit from Damon Davis. Welcome. How are you?
I'm fantastic, Bruno Falcone. Thank you so much for welcoming me into your house, buddy.
Oh, my pleasure. We linked in a couple of events in the States, and all that you do, like you're working within AI. So you work within the podcasting industry, you work within the health industry. It is incredible to see the massive impact that you have in all of the people that you touch, in all of the industries that you touch. And on top of it, I have actually seen you speaking in front of 2,000 people in Los Angeles. It is
Hey.
so incredible having you.
Thank you, man. It's really special to be here. I've had some really wonderful experiences across all those different industries. I've been podcasting for 8 years, and I've been doing a lot of work in the adoptee space. So my podcast is called Who Am I Really? Where I'm adopted. I'm in reunion with my biological family members, and I had interview other adopted people about their own adoption and their attempts to find their biological family members and how it went. I also have another more business focused podcast called Discovery Diaries with Damon Davis. And that is where I tend to talk more about my AI entrepreneurship, a lot of AI strategy. I've been interviewing experts around the industry to learn more about how AI is being deployed for businesses to gain efficiency, cost effectiveness, get everything from legal advice to marketing prowess. So AI is really going to be a powerful, powerful tool for a lot of businesses, small, medium, and large. And then I spent a lot of time in healthcare, multiple decades. I worked at the Department of Health in the United States government for a long time, working under the Obama administration for all 8 years. And I just recently am wrapping up a stint at Novo Nordisk, where for 5 years I spent a lot of time in public affairs, engaging in diseases like obesity, diabetes, cardiovascular disease, and others. So it's been a wild array of experiences, and that's kind of what makes me who I am and more.
I mean, whenever you say that, I have trouble believing you because if you look at this video, I mean, you look like you're 30 years old. What's going on? What's the secret?
And man, good clean living. They're good clean living. There's also some old adages about black skin, and I think that I probably benefit from that too, right? Black don't crack. So I'm super lucky in that way as well.
No, no. You look at from the outside, the people that they get to the chance to spend time with you. They can only see like an incredible gentleman, and like I messaged you about it, like, and it's true. Like the way that you act, the way it says a lot about you as an entrepreneur, as a human being, as a man. And one of the reasons why I wanted to have this podcast with you, it was quite literally because you represent a lot of the values that I believe in. So it was very important for me to kind of have a deeper link with you and kind of like going into a little bit deeper and a little bit more raw into your experiences because
I appreciate
obviously
that.
you it's very unique. Like your story is very unique, and one of the things that I wanted to talk about, it was about the effects that your family and the way you grew up have on your life today. So
Absolutely.
to give you a little bit of an understanding, like myself, for example, I'm just gonna be raw, and if it's something that bothers you, you're more than welcome to stop me at any time
I'm
because
an
I know
open book,
that
man. Go for it.
uh, more than because out of my own experiences in the past. This is a very quick anecdote. I had a person speaking about mental health in an entrepreneurial group, and she didn't disclose what she was going to talk about, and I was extremely affected by it, very upset after the fact. But because
Wow.
they're very raw themes, and like, and that's why, like, if I say something that bothers you, like, you're more than welcome to stop me anytime.
No, I'm good.
The
Please go ahead.
the reason why, so I'll kick it off, and then like I'll revert it to you. I just wanna show you the authenticity and the realness, because this is all what I'm all about. But I don't speak about this often. But it is the perfect occasion now, like with somebody like you and your own experiences. Myself, I did grow up with my oh, actually. I was about to say I grew up with my parents, but really my biological dad is from Argentina. And I grew up in Italy with an Argentinian mother and an Italian dad.
Mm,
And I guess you could, I literally, I, I never realized it until now, but I guess you could say that he adopted me. But it was the 80s and they literally faked the papers. Like he signed up
really?
as a dad, as my father, like on the on the birth certificate. So like they faked it, but kind of like you could tell that I'm a kind of adopted. Um,
Mm,
but my point was around the growing up circumstances. So when like my family didn't have a lot of money, there was a lot of problems around financials. There was a lot of problems around mental health and how to deal with it. So there was a lot of violence, there was a lot of abuse, verbal, physical. There was, there was just an environment where it wasn't safe for me. So I grew up like that, trying to detach myself from that situation and finding the things that I needed in life all outside of that world. And then in my 20s, I wasn't happy with the person that I was becoming, and I was giving all of the faults to the way that I grew up, all of the faults to the way that the opportunities that weren't given to me because of the family that I was growing up in.
yeah.
And then later on, when I was, I think in my 30s, I finally, um, came up with the responsibility. And I talked to myself. It was a moment when I spoke to myself and I said, how much uh, of the fault is of how I grew up versus how I'm deciding to live in my life right now?
Mhm.
And then everything kind of changed. It wasn't overnight, but it was, during the course of a full year, that things started happening. I went back to university. I'm Italian, but then I came to Australia, so went
Let
back
me
to
ask you, if you don't
university.
mind, can I just jump in real quick? I want to ask, what was
Please.
going on in your life at that moment where you had this deep question that you were contemplative over, is this my upbringing, or are these the choices that I've made, and how can I what was happening for you at that time in your life?
I was working as a barista making coffee. So I was an accountant in Italy, and then when I came to Australia, I started making coffee for a living. So I was working as a barista, which is it gives into the identity and the you know th- like, am I doing what I'm meant to do in this life? Am I achieving what I'm meant to achieve in this life? And then my private life was very happy. Like I already had married the wife that I'm with until today. So it's 15 years of marriage. So like my private life was very happy. But then again, it's not, I don't want to say estranged, but I did kind of ran away from Italy, and I'm living, like, coming to Australia on the other side of the world as an only child. Like my life was, my wife travels and kind of like living this like bubble with my wife, but then the professional part of it, I felt like unfulfilled, and that just wasn't doing what I was meant to do. So that was
Yeah.
what it was.
So you
But
were an accountant and then you were a barista. And so you had this epiphany of not necessarily achieving what you want to in life. And so you went back to university. So go ahead.
went back to uni and then developed like a very I started meeting people that weren't within the people that I was hanging out with. So
Mm,
at the time I was hanging out with expats, and like just like the life of living in today, like the
mm,
life of living in in the present without thinking of what happened in the future. And I wanted to say a piece about that later, about your dad.
yeah.
um and I was living that temporary life, and then I just started thinking about it, and am I achieving, am I happy with the person that I am? And then I developed an interest into um uh, sales. So really like us having that face with a client face to face, and that was within the tailoring industry. Like when I started working for these massive Italian companies like Zegna, Canale, Brioni, all of the big names. I jumped in between all of the biggest fashion houses, and then I'll tell you the truth: the person that could afford a $10,000 suit was pushing me constantly, and that person was multiple people, but that person was saying, what are you doing with your life? You got a talent. Where are you gonna be in 5 years time? What do you want to achieve? Like, why aren't you using this talent to really help and make a difference? And that's
That's
how, and that push combined with the incredible support from my wife, helped me make the jump and then and deciding to start House of Falcone.
that's
But
amazing.
thank you. But I wanted to like I kicked it off like this in a raw manner because I want to know about your start. You're an incredibly successful entrepreneur, podcaster. You worked within the health industry for so many years. I want to know where you started and how that affected your journey.
Yeah. I know now why we are connected the way that we are. Based on what you've told me, I understand I can make the connection between what I said on stage and what you've experienced. So it's making more sense now. So to draw the line between us, my personal beginnings, one, as I've already said, I'm adopted. And I want people to think about what that means for a minute because folks make an assumption about it, but it actually means much more than you realize. One, as an adopted person, it literally means I was transplanted as an infant from one family to a completely different family. And that can be amazing. And I'm actually a fan of adoption because it does in many ways help children who need it. However, we also have to think about the fact that there's a reason that a child is available for adoption. Adoption never starts from an amazing place. I've interviewed 278 people on the Who Am I Really podcast. Not a single one of them has found their biological family and asked them, why did you place me for adoption? And they said, I don't know, things were fine. I just decided. There was always a challenge, right? And you can go through all of the various reasons why people place for adoption. But I wanted to just level set what adoption means just from that perspective. My family, though, was awesome. I had two Black parents. I was an only child. I grew up in a, middle class home. My father, however, he started his life with the meagerest of beginnings. He was very poor in Kansas City, Kansas, here in the United States. And when I say poor, he lived with his grandmother in a servant's quarters behind another house in their neighborhood. And he would walk the long way to school so that people wouldn't see what direction he was coming from and get an indication of his socioeconomic status. So that tells you about how challenging his beginnings were. Fast forward, he goes into the military. He's in the Air Force. He travels around the world. He comes back to the United States and starts an incredible healthcare management consulting firm. And he and his partners built that firm up to multi-million-dollar exit that, as I said, any entrepreneur would be very happy with. They all took their bags of money and they rode off into the sunset. And the challenge that my father had was he didn't really have any money education. He had no money mentors, as I like to say. And so what that meant was he bought a bunch of shiny stuff. He didn't buy any assets. So he bought a crazy nice car. He built himself a mansion. It was just him and his wife, two people. They had a 5-bedroom mansion, 3-car garage, custom aquarium, custom bar, and a 15-person custom movie theater. 2 people. And so you can imagine what it costs to heat that in the winter, cool that in the summer, what it costs to do landscaping, all of those things, all of the stuff. And needless to say, you can probably detect where I'm going, that unfortunately he spent out all of his money. My father sadly died broke and alone after divorcing his wife because of the strife that his poor money management caused. And it was the saddest moment I can remember. I hope I have never experienced anything like that again. When we walked out of that big old house that he was so proud to have built from scratch. He came from nothing and built something amazing. But because he didn't manage it properly in terms of the money, he died broke. And I vowed that I would not repeat the processes that he went through, that I would take the dollars I make and put them to work for me so that they would make more dollars. I wasn't just going to spend them on frivolous, unnecessary material things where I could be building a legacy for myself, for my son. And so I started on this entrepreneurial adventure. I started buying real estate, managing multiple properties. I started investing in everything from the stock market to groups like you and I are in with JT Fox. And so I've really been trying to focus in on the idea that poor preparation and not acknowledging that your future self is going to be very happy with the decisions you make today. That's a thing you have to be very cognizant of. And so I try to maintain that. And I will also thank my wife for helping me through those challenges as well. So the same way that your wife helped you battle through some of the things that you were going through to get to the place where you could have a House of Falcone that is, an incredibly successful and is a worldwide brand. I've similarly had my wife who has stood up and been sort of steadfast in terms of being very supportive and recognizing my entrepreneurial desires. She's supporting me right now as my AI strategy develops into a really strong set of prospects. It's a really fun opportunity. So that's kind of the backstory. So that's a little bit of how our backgrounds align.
Yeah, but did you had a moment? I guess like the deepest moment for you was how old were you when you were going through that moment with your dad when you guys lost kind of
Yeah.
everything?
It was late 30s, early 40s.
There you go.
So yeah, it's been a while. But that's one of those times where you are really truly figuring yourself out as an adult, right? I had kids and I had a job. I was definitely in that sandwich generation of being the adult who's managing down with the children, managing across with my spouse, and managing up with my parents, right?
Mm,
And there were
mm,
challenges on both sides too. My adoptive mother started to suffer mental illness at the same time.
ah,
So she suffered paranoid schizophrenia and dementia. And it's interesting. I'm glad this came up because I frequently talk about my father and the financial challenges that the lessons his financial challenges taught me. But my mother deserves some credit as well. One, she was conservative with her money. But two, and through no fault of her own, just her brain took a turn for the worse. My mother, as I said, suffered paranoid schizophrenia and dementia, and I lost touch with her to keep the story short. And she used to live near me here in Maryland. One day I went out to the mailbox. I got a card from her. It was a birthday card for my son for his birthday. And I looked at the return address on the envelope, and she had moved back to where she grew up in Missouri. And so, all that to say, her mental state was so fragile and unpredictable that it had her doing things like moving away without telling me.
wow.
And so she ended up she bought a house out there, lived there for many, many years. 3 bedroom, 3 or 4 bedroom house, 3 car garage. It was cheap. It's cheap property out there. She did great for herself. But what she didn't do was plan and prioritize the protection of her assets. We didn't get into any kind of living will or any sort of, protective legal status that would allow me to take over her affairs. The reason I say this is because she had a beautiful black Lexus. She had that big old house that she had paid many years to own and had, probably gotten over the hump of where the principal had crossed over the interest. And now she was really starting to pay down. She lost her home on the auction block because her mental state prevented her from paying her bills. So she had gone so far without paying her bills that the bank took back the house. She also had not paid for the lease on the car. I ended up having to drive that car directly to the dealership, and I gave him the keys. I said, here, there's nothing I can do. And so these are some of the lessons that I've learned about prioritizing your financial health and your well-being. And so my wife and I are working very hard right now to try to manage some of those things. We're putting together the legal documents that are going to allow us to protect our assets such that if we died tomorrow, this house, the house in LA, would all be protected. They would go to my son. They won't go to the government. They will
Yeah.
not go into probate, all of those things. So we're trying to be very cognizant of that kind of thing.
And, correct me if I'm wrong. It looks like, uh, you came from like a happy, like, I guess a happy beginning, but then a traumatic experience within your 30s, and that taught you a harsh lesson on taking care of your financial life. And then at the same time, now you're probably surrounding yourself with a lot of people that are most likely telling you and suggesting and helping that process on asset protection and how to take care of your affairs. I can tell you just because I grew like growing up and my journey was within my dad was a white collar, but at the same time, we've been struggling with debt our whole life, like they have, right? And my life really, like I wouldn't identify it as middle class, because when I was little, like even going to get a haircut was a problem. Like, like it was, everything was an issue. And when it came to money, and I have a million of these stories, but like the haircut gives a good understanding, because it's like, like it's something that should be not even an afterthought
Basic
for many
need,
people. That's right.
unfulfilled. Yeah, that's right.
And then so then growing up like that, then I surrounded myself as I was growing up. Even when I was a professional in Italy, an accountant, I was still mingling with quote unquote the same group, the same economical and financial class,
Yeah.
because that's what one person feels comfortable with.
Hmm.
And then when I was bringing back to when I was working for the big fashion houses, then I mixed just by uh, just by presence with a different economical class that was thinking differently, that was heavily uh, made evil from the class where I was coming from.
Yeah.
Evil, like evil money. They don't deserve it. They haven't done anything to have it. Um, why do they have it? Like as a 50-year-old man, what doesn't need a convertible? Like things like
Right.
that. That
Yeah.
was the conversation that we're having.
Vilify those folks, right?
Correct,
Because you don't have it.
correct. But now, uh, you know, I'm around. Like I spend more time within this economical class. I'm having that experience where they, a lot of these people, they're guiding me, they showing me the way, they kind of telling me, hey, like this is how you protect your assets. Or like in your specific case, you would say you need to protect your assets. But this
Right.
is not I wouldn't consider this common knowledge
No.
amongst the whole world. Like I think that there is and it's not even a matter of gatekeeping. It's a matter of the moment that you start thinking that way, you just a different person.
Yeah.
You don't vilify money, you don't vilify that life, and you just understand how the world works. So I think,
Let me ask you a question
yeah.
then on that. What would you, the man you are now, who understands money can be earned, money is a tool, money is something that you can protect and grow, what would this Bruno tell the younger Bruno and all of his cohort who were vilifying those with money and other stuff? What would you say? What's your message back to your younger self and the people you were hanging around with who were like that?
My message will be exactly that. Money, it's a tool to achieve things in life. It's not something to grab and hold on and never let go. Money, more than money, also being financially stable and free, it isn't about giving away your time for money. So it isn't giving away 60-hour weeks or 80-hour weeks, or it's not doing something that that doesn't fulfill you. Like it's not about that. um And but I wanted to tell you this. Like, it's I don't want to say sad, but it is this conversation that you say, what would you say to your cohorts and what would you say to your old selves? It's a conversation that I literally had this year with my friends because unfortunately I grew out of the person that I used to be 10 years ago, 15 years ago.
Yeah.
But then my friends, they haven't changed the environment in Italy. They haven't changed the environment. They haven't changed the professional life. They haven't changed their circles. They
Yeah.
just been hanging out with themselves. So they close that circle, they close that bubble, and literally when I go to Italy, and I was there just like in July, when I go there, I feel like I'm going back in time. I
Hmm.
feel like I'm literally stepping into a time of my life that I thought I was gone.
Hmm.
Right? They
Yeah.
have trouble. They have trouble spending time with me. They have trouble
Okay.
spending time with me because when they complain about their life, they complain about taxes, they complain about uh, GST, they complain about anything and everything.
Yeah.
I seem to have an answer. I seem to have, hey, but have you thought of doing this instead? Have you thought of doing
Mhm.
this other thing, right? And they absolutely hate it because within the group, I was the person that, like, as I mentioned before, had the least amount of opportunity growing up, and I was the person that I was the screw up of the group. I was,
Interesting. You
I
went
was
from the
the,
bottom of the barrel to the top.
I
And
was.
what's interesting too about this is that you're the person who has found the unlock mentally to say, there are answers to these problems, and it's not within this group. The more we hang out with each other and bitch and moan to one another, the more we're going to end up wallowing in our own sadness and lack of opportunity. And you have grown and matured both in mindset as well as seeing that while you're standing in the middle of that circle, there's another circle over there that you should be trying to attach yourself to. And so it's really interesting to think through this maturity of mindset, this expansion of your mindset, that it's not confined to just these people in this circle, but that all those people with convertibles and owning buildings and starting fashion houses, they started from somewhere, and I can do that too. And so it's interesting to see the difference in your expanded mind and their continual stagnated mind.
I was very curious. I mean, like, have you had a similar group? Like, do you find yourself having stepped out of a person that you used to be, with your group of friends, or?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, my group of friends, I'm fortunate, are really successful in a variety of different ways. I've got a guy who is, one of the tops in DC in commercial real estate, and another guy he and his like lifelong buddy have a information security software firm they just bought another company and they're integrating. So these folks are doing really well, and they're but and they're invested in restaurants and a whole bunch of other different money making opportunities. But there are certain folks in our lives that I've definitely grown away from. And
Mhm.
some of it is because they have a limited mindset, but I tend to attract really positive people. I'm positive myself. And so I don't necessarily end up wallowing in some of those more negative circles because the
The
way
person you
I
are.
behave, it's counter to me, as positive as I am, to continue to be around somebody negative. I will hear them and acknowledge them. I will offer them some pathway forward to some more positivity. If they bite onto it and they run with it, that's fantastic. We can run together. But if they're not going to, the old adage, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make it drink. If we're not going to drink at this pond together, then you need to move on. And I am going to move on. My personality is not one to sit and wait for people to do a thing. I've already told you what I'm going to do. I'm about to make the move. If you're ready, let's go. If you're not, I will meet you there because I'm leaving. Do you see what I mean?
Yeah. So what's that point out that you are incredibly successful. And one of the key characteristics that I'm picking up out of this conversation is number one, mindset. You said that you're positive, and you are. You're also very kind, and like you have this all-round goodness about you, positive mindset. Then number two, you have this thirst to understand financials, understand money, understand how it works. And that comes from probably a traumatic moment in your life. But
Mhm.
again, for people that are they're looking at you and they see a successful person, I would like to invite them to see how uh, you started from zero. You started from a place where you built up everything that you have yourself.
Mhm.
So it's very important to point it out, because a lot of the sometimes that gets lost in translation. What I would like to know is, within that success sphere, what is it that pushes you forward? What is your drive day in, day out?
That's a great question. My drive day in and day out really lands on curiosity and a desire to achieve more, right? There are folks some may look up to me for any certain reason. I'm looking up to someone else, right? And so unless you are absolutely the top of your industry, there is always more to achieve. There are always more people to meet. There's always somebody that you can help to bring along. And there's just always more to do. There's more to learn. There are more creative ways to execute on various ideas. I mean, this era of AI that we're in right now is allowing the expansion of our desires to execute and brainstorm and strategize and communicate in a way that we never could before. And I just find this absolutely fascinating. And so, in part, this is also part of the reason why I think I've been a good podcast host as well, is I'm genuinely curious, right? I have always said I'm interested in the backstory of me and you that has got us to the point where we're on this podcast together, and we've covered that. But if we hadn't, I would have been very curious to know more about Bruno Falcone so I could understand how did he get to the place where there is a house of fashion named after him. He didn't just wasn't born into it, and
Yeah.
you revealed that. But I say all that to say my genuine curiosity about who people are, how things work, how they achieved what they've achieved, what mistakes they've made. This is a huge thing that JT talks about a lot, is this idea that you learn more from people's mistakes than you do from their successes. How things work and what not to do is incredibly important to me.
Yeah. So I would, like, in the list that I was just describing before, I would add then curiosity. So number three, uh, curiosity is a big part of your life. And what I like to point out is that in a different socioeconomic environment, there is this idea that I cannot wait to stop learning.
Mm-hmm.
I cannot wait to stop to finish this learning journey, which is this was really me whenever I was uni. This is in Italy, and I was like, I cannot wait to stop. I'll get my permanent job, and I'll go in and out, and I don't want to think about anything. So that is what separates a successful person that, like yourself, I'm noticing, is that the idea of stop learning isn't part of your life. It's about curiosity. There's always to learn. There's always something better to do than what are you doing. And even if you are amongst the top of your industry, you still have this push, this idea that it can be done better. So,
Yeah,
which is
absolutely.
very different from I cannot wait to stop. I cannot wait to, be done with. I cannot wait
Yeah.
for the day to finish, my professional day to
Yeah.
finish. That's very, very interesting.
This is
That part of it.
Yeah, this is what you're describing to me. I think a lot in analogies when people are speaking, and what sparked for me was this idea of a finish line. That when you graduate college, you're going to hit the finish line and you'll just get a job, and that'll be the end. But for people like us, we're thinking, all right, once I get here, what is the next thing that I'm going to do? Once I start this, I'm obviously going to master it because I'm going to go all in. But after I master this, what is my next move going to be? And what are the pivots that I could make inside of this next space, right? I used to joke, I had a full-time job at a big pharmaceutical company, and I would joke with people, I have a 9 to 5 job, but I also have a 5 to 9 and a 5 to 9, right? I would get up early in the morning. I wake up for 4:45, get my workout in so that check, that's done. And then I can get to the rest of the work that I need to do before I actually went to work. And then at the end of work, there was no finish line. I don't just drive home and go, whew, I'm done. I've got other stuff I want to do because future Damon is interested in the things that this guy is doing here right now. And so you have to keep going if you want that guy to be happy. And so that's how I sort of power myself forward, along with the curiosity and things that we've discussed already.
That's very interesting. To the list now at number 4, I would like to add the fact that you take care of your body. So that's another thing that there's a clear divide between the two different levels between on what I define as success versus a stagnated person. So you just mentioned that you're working out, you're taking care of yourself. Can you expand a little bit more why you're doing it? What changes that brings to your life? You're successful. Why do you even need to go and work out at the gym?
Yeah, this is a great point. Well, listen, at the end of the day, let's just say I was the richest guy in the world and the most unhealthy. I'm sitting in a bed, potentially living with obesity. I can't get out of the bed. I might not even be able to talk, right? Because I haven't taken care of my body. I'm not going to be able to bathe myself, feed myself, do any of these things. What difference does it make how much money I have if I can't even, you're not living, you're surviving. And so I will credit my father with yet another big lesson. So when I was in college, my father called me and he said that he needed open heart surgery. He had been to the doctor. They put him on the treadmill. They stuck all the things all over his chest and everything. And they asked him to start jogging. And they immediately asked him to stop and get off the machine. They told him that he was going to need heart surgery that following, within the next several days. He had quadruple bypass surgery. They made 4 bypasses around his heart to get around clogged arteries. And that was because, in partially no fault of his own, right? He grew up in the Black community in the Midwest where certain foods were part of the culture. We don't have the awareness around what we put into our bodies as much as we do now. And some of it is his fault. He went out drinking a lot and he ate whatever the hell he wanted to. And so he didn't prioritize his body. And that ended up putting him under the knife. So I think about those things a lot, right? There was nothing more scary to me in my life than to stand at the end of that hallway in the hospital and watch them wheel him away on his back. And they pushed the gurney through the double doors and the double doors closed and I couldn't see him anymore. I had no idea if I would ever see him again. And that was partially because he hadn't taken care of his health in the way that he should. And so I think about the obesity epidemic that we live in currently, right? It's uncomfortable to live with obesity. You can't move as well as you would like to. I've heard stories of women who unfortunately had reached a certain weight and their child was in danger and they couldn't get themselves up fast enough to go chase after the child because obesity had taken over. And something that many people won't know, and this is not a clinical term, but it's good for the analogy of what it means. We all know of type 1 diabetes, which is one that you can't battle, you just inherit. Type 2 is one that comes from the overconsumption and overdevelopment of sugar in the body. And so you end up with type 2 diabetes. Colloquially, and this is not technical in terms, I'm not a doctor, I'm not clinically trained, but people have begun to think of Alzheimer's disease, which is sugar impacting the brain, as type 3 diabetes. So you can imagine just the proliferation of sugars and fats and hormones in our foods are really challenging us. So you have to be really cognizant of what you're putting into your body, but also how you're treating your body when you're not eating. So get off your ass and move. You're not going to make any kind of progress if you're sitting there wishing that you would feel better and look better. You have to go out and work for that. The same way we have to go out and work for our dollars, you have to go out and work for your better health. And so I have every intention of living to at least 100 years old. I'll just be candid with you. But I'm not going to get there if I'm not investing now in future Damon's better health. Your health is a lot like your bank account. If you're not putting in the chits right now, it's not going to accumulate until what you want it to be at a later date. So I think a lot about health. I think it's very important. And I actually feel way better when I get up and I work out. My blood flows, my thinking is clear, I'm energetic. So I very much like to get up early in the morning. I'm the first one up in the house. My family laughs at me when I fall asleep on the couch at 9:45, but I'm so crazy productive and I really enjoy my health regimen quite a bit.
Love it, love it. And again, this is for the person that is listening to this podcast, is seeing the authenticity coming through the camera with you. Like, you're an incredible human being, incredible entrepreneur. Again, you have kindness. You want to learn about financials still till today. You are very interested in learning and curiosity. You take care of your health. It's very, very important for you taking care of your health. And now I know that I want to speak about how well you present when you walk into a room. Where
Mm.
does that come from? Why is it so important? And what are the things that have happened in your life because you decided to present at your very best?
This is a really good question because I think about this a lot. So, one, I'm a firm believer that you need to hone your communication skills. And I've thought about it from even the perspective of just how much I say and like and filler words when I speak. So when you hear me speak and I pause, I'm intentionally trying not to say. And also, I'm also thinking about how when I'm speaking, I need your brain to catch up with what I'm saying. I could just continue to speak fast and drop all of my ideas, and it would be impossible for you to keep up with me if I just kept talking and talking. But if I stop and I let you think for a minute, then I'm a better communicator. So I think about that a lot. And one of the things I think you're alluding to is I frequently try to show up looking sharp as well. One of the things that I recognize is every single time you step out of your house, somebody you don't know is seeing you for the first time, and they may never see you again. And so that one chance, not even first chance to make a first impression, but only chance you will ever see that person, the way you carry yourself is going to say a tremendous amount about you. Head up, shoulders back, walk with confidence. Don't be looking down at the ground like you're lost and you don't know what, I get it if you're thinking about something and you're pensive, but you need to be head up alert and aware of your surroundings and smiling, nodding at people, engaging them, right? That shows that you're a part of the community that you're in. You've got confidence in yourself, and people are attracted to confidence. The person who stands back and they kind of are shy and their head is down and you can't even make eye contact with them if you try, it doesn't feel like somebody that you want to engage with. But I want to engage with as many people as possible because I'm going to end up meeting somebody incredible like you, Bruno, right? And then we're going to end up in a moment like this where we get to have this exchange. But imagine if I had been somebody who did not exude the kind of confidence that you saw in the crowd, on the stage, etc. This conversation, let alone whatever we do next, might not even happen. So again, I think a lot about perception. I also think about it too because culturally in the United States, there's a lot of challenge, right? There are challenges between ethnicities, and there are positive and negative perceptions of all ethnicities. And I want to make sure that I portray as much positivity as possible to try to counterbalance the negativity, right? As a representative, as a Black male, I want to make sure that I show up in the most positive way possible to make sure folks understand there are some really great people across our community, and Damon is one of them. Do you see what I mean? So I think about
Wow.
public perception a lot.
Wow. I mean, incredible to hear. So you spoke about communication first. As we were talking about the importance of presenting yourself at your very best, you talked about communication, how you say things, and how does it come across. Uh, Getting rid of the filler words,
Mm.
be clear in what you say. And then you link the communication with the way you present in terms of the way you dress. So the way you dress, the way you look, it's a tremendous amount of communication in your world. And then you spoke about opportunities that might get lost if you weren't presenting in the way that you are. And then you spoke about representing your community in a positive way and showing to the world what it means to be positive. And this is
Absolutely.
all by the way that you present yourself.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, let's
But
think about this for a second. You and I walk into a coffee shop separately. You walk in, Bruno Falcone, amazing suit. You look incredible. I'm sitting there and I'm in sweats and a t-shirt, baseball cap. Why would you ever talk to me if I walked up to you? Right? Or conversely, I would want to talk to you. Are you going to come over and talk to me? Right? Just the perception. I could be 100 times more wealthier than you, more wealthy than you are, and have opportunities for you. But just because I've shown up and I don't necessarily look like I could be in a position of someone that you want to chat with, that could be a lost opportunity. The other thing I'll say is I also recognize that the way I dress is how I work. When I show up in sweatpants, you're going to get sweatpants level work. When I show up in a jacket, in a shirt, and a tie, that's the guy you're going to get. And I'm going to be invested more. So even when I work from home, I still shower and get dressed because I got work to do. And so I try not to it's don't get me wrong, I'm not like gardening in a tux or anything like that. That would be ridiculous. But you understand what I'm saying, that I recognize that there's a mind shift that happens in how you transition your clothes and how they make you feel. And, it's important to acknowledge that if you put on your ratty t-shirt and your old jeans, you're going to be in a ratty t-shirt and old jeans kind of mood. But if you know you got work to do, put on something a little bit nicer, even if you're at home, and sit down and get the work done. I think a lot about my clothes impact my mood quite a bit.
wow, so a mindset shift. What would you say to, I'm going to play devil's advocate.
Mhm.
In Australia, there is a very strong line of thoughts, which is about, I'm successful, I don't need to wear a suit. I'm successful, I don't need to put on a jacket. I'm very curious to hear what you have to say to that. And then I'll tell you my thoughts. But what would you say to the entrepreneur that is, in his mind, I'm successful, I don't need to wear a jacket, I don't need to look professional?
Listen, I believe there's probably a certain level of having put on enough suits and ties and jackets and stuff where you just go, you know what, I'm done. Like I've made my bag. I don't need to do this anymore. And I respect that, right? There may come a day when I decide that I no longer want to do that. But for me personally, that is how I choose to show up. Now, I'm not sitting at Starbucks working in a suit and tie. I don't want to portray that. But I do walk out of the house looking well put together, such that, as I said, all of those first impressions that are going to happen are going to be good, strong first impressions. But I think, though, that the person who comes in there, so there's something to be said, too, for your work speaking for itself, right? But your work doesn't always precede you when it comes into a room. So for the individual who is invited to the meeting because they are the big name, they probably are going to show up in, a t-shirt and a hat or whatever, but they were invited because of what they've achieved already. They probably were in a state much like where we are right now, which is perception is a lot of what you're going to be invited to try to achieve. So I'd love to hear what your thoughts are on this.
Well, I was like burning in my seat. Well, to the entrepreneur, the things that, like, already has made it a successful. It doesn't need to be looking professional. It doesn't need to wear a jacket. It wears a jeans and t-shirt. I'd say I feel like they think they achieved whatever they can achieve, but they don't have that mindset of growth. They don't have that mindset of, can I do this thing better tomorrow? Can I do this thing better today? And
They've reached the finish line.
for me, it's a very probably it's a very controversial thing to say, and I hope that doesn't come across as I'm judging. It comes across as a observation. It looks like they've given up that part because they think they made it. Versus, I find it difficult to see the mindset of growth within that, because somebody like you, like you said, you mentioned, you might miss that opportunity, you might miss that, that moment that somebody would turn around to you and talk to you. And for me,
Mhm.
for example, there was a very clear example. The other day, I was walking to the supermarket, and I wasn't wearing a suit, but I was still wearing like my casual tailored shirt, my trouser, my loafers, and I met one of the sharks of Shark Tank Australia. And that
Oh,
was because he lives in my city, and we were meant to have a podcast together, and we literally bumped into each other. So that was
that's awesome.
but you know what? And the first thing that he said to me, and this is a TV presenter, is a person of like a big caliber here in Australia. And the first thing that he said to me, he said, "Oh wow, like you are really on brand with yourself." Like he noticed that he just met me at the supermarket. This is a celebrity, met me at the supermarket, and he said, "You're really on brand with yourself. It didn't need it to be a full suit, but I still look put together enough to have the conversation, versus if I
Yes.
was to wear like, my gym wear, or like, whatever it is, maybe he wouldn't have stopped and talked to me." And this is again like a TV celebrity, extremely
Exactly right.
successful. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
I think that is one of the things that I think that stops, is that ceiling. They think that they achieved it, they stopped the machine, they took the foot off the accelerator,
Yeah.
and they content with what they have. And that's also like I mean, it's fair enough, like you said, like you respect that. That's
Yeah.
okay as well.
And
Yeah.
imagine, let's reverse the scenario for a quick minute. And you've run out of the house, you've gone to the grocery store, and you didn't have on the loafers and the tailored shirt and stuff. And you did throw on the ratty t-shirt and the sweats, and you see that same person. Do you feel like you would have had the confidence to walk up to that person in that outfit?
Oh, it would have been tough.
Probably not,
It would have
right?
been tough. It would have
The
been
first
tough.
thing you would have said to yourself was, damn, look at how I look. I don't want to go over there and talk to this guy like this. Humans are visual. We make perceptions and judgments about people based on an immediate what we see. They say that a woman will generally be able to gauge their attraction to a man within a few seconds of seeing him and meeting him, right? And all of those things click together at first. How is he talking? What does he look like? How does he smell? All of these things, they come together in a quick moment. And as I've said, every single time you walk out of the house, somebody's seeing you for the first time.
Well, look, I think I mean, this has been very informative for anybody that doesn't know what's on the other side of this door, because in general, like I feel like this conversation so far has been very authentic, in terms of you were very raw, and you really put everything on the table. You're curious, want to learn. You take care of your health, and you take care of the way that you dress, the way you present yourself. And I think it's very important to know, for all of these people that don't know how to get on the other side, they don't know how to make that jump. And I think that, and also like the mindset that you have, I feel, for me, one of the biggest lessons, almost a failure, when I started a business, I feel like there was quite literally a mirror to all of the things that I either didn't know how to do, or I did wrong.
Yeah.
So and for me, I was always, I identified always as the person that would uh, excel at anything.
Mm.
So I was playing basketball when I was in my 20s, and I was like semi-professional. Like I was being paid for it. Like I was playing nationally in Italy. Then I took, actually, a little thing that nobody knows. I took dancing, like salsa, like Latin
Really?
dancing,
Yeah.
and I was ranked number 2 in Italy. I did like a national
Is that
um,
right?
I did a
Wow, that's
national
awesome.
dancing competition. And then, at school, I remember like I left my high school, and I was, top 10 in school. So I was always,
Mm.
I was making coffee, and I'm like, I'm the best at this, right? So
Uh,
I always identify myself as the best at, was striving for excellence. And then when I started the business, oh my God, that was that was a cold shower.
No, really, that's really
That was a
fascinating.
cold
Yeah.
shower. Oh my God. Like
Yeah.
all of my shortcomings, they came about like all slapping me in my face. And now I still see the shortcomings. I still see all of the things I need to improve. But thanks to people like you, that I see how you live your life and how your values, and it's about uh, trying to get there, pushing yourself to excellence. And I'm not seeing excellence as arriving to a level. I see excellence as a value, living up my days, my moments, trying to strive to it versus once I get there, I've achieved it. So, for example,
Yeah.
in the suiting, like you know, in my tailoring business, people that don't know is that I constantly strive for a better product, better
Mm.
experience. For example, now we launched, now this has been almost a year in the making, and you know, a lot of trial and error, a lot of work into it. But now we are literally able to make a tailored suit thanks to AI measurements. And this
That's
is sent
incredible.
to the phones to all of our clients all around the world, Canada, USA, UK, Singapore, you name it. We send a link to your phone, and we are able to get AI extremely accurate measurements. And literally 4 weeks later, you have a custom suit
That's
delivered to your door.
incredible. You
Mm.
now have the ability to do tailored measurements and deliver on a global scale from Australia because of AI technology. That is absolutely insane. And it's
Uh,
wonderful. I
yeah.
mean, literally the entire globe is now your opportunity. That's really awesome.
And I mean, this is I've learned only thanks to, a common mentor, JT Fox. He mentioned this AI tool. He said, you need to look into AI measurements. And he told me this, I want to say 14 months ago. And
Oh, really?
quite literally 2 months later, I already had the tool.
Good for
I
you.
just, I just was working on it for a very long time. And I think we launched it, I want to say 8 months ago. Like we launched it, like, operationally, and, worked like magic. But then at the same time, it's speed of implementation. Like whenever,
Yes.
what is that role of speed of implementation in your world? Because, obviously like you worked on, you're now working on AI, and when did this came about?
Yeah. Speed of implementation is everything, right? I think I'm going to give you some of the classic things that people, the challenges that people have. It's the analysis paralysis, right? Let me look at more. Let me try to decide. Let me examine. Maybe there's more options out there. And the thing that successful entrepreneurs are really strong at is, I've got a great idea. Let's go do that. And I'll figure it out as I go. Versus, I got a great idea. Let me sit down and analyze it and try to figure out what all the pitfalls and challenges are and what's my potential addressable market. And, and by the time you do all of that, I've already executed. I've started and I've already talked to 2, 3, 4, 5, 10, 12 people about this idea. And I've now already got customers. And I'm thinking to myself, all right, how can I get from them what the client experience has been and make it better, as you've done, right? And so it's that the speed of execution, the speed of implementation is a game changer for everybody, because when people see you in motion, they want you to progress. They want you to keep going and be successful, and they will help you along the way. But if you're just sitting still, people can't help you to go forward because you're not even moving, right? So this is how I think about these kinds of things. So I tend to be, when I get an idea, I will immediately sit down and write it out just to make sure that I've sort of thought through the initial steps. And then I'm off to the races. I'm online. I'm looking for resources. I'm looking to see if there's a proven model out there. Another thing that people will think is, I've got a great idea. Let me go do that. And then they go online, they see someone else that's done it, and they go, oh, man. Listen, there are so many ideas through human history it's impossible almost for you to come up with a new novel idea. But what is true is if you've seen that your idea has been executed already, then there's a proof of concept.
That's proof of concept.
Now the idea is, how do I make it better? How do I implement AI such that I don't have to be physically present to do the tailoring and measurements? I can send you an app on your phone, and the tailoring and measurements can be done in the comfort of your own home. I will receive them, and I can turn something around to you amazingly fast. These are the kinds of things that people have to think through, is let me start this thing in motion, and I'll figure out all of the pieces that I need to add on and augment and make it better along the way. So
I
speed of
mean, you spoke
implementation is
about,
everything.
but I mean, you spoke about the one thing, it's sales. You said, let me see if people will give me money for it. Let me see if this is going to work, because this is your AI journey. I know that right now you already have so many clients that you're helping. You're working, and you decided working on AI because how fast this is happening. This
Right.
has been a matter of months, like
Mm-hmm.
months, where you, from when you decided to work on AI to now,
Yeah.
and you already have proof of concept, clients, stories, which is
Mm-hmm.
something that a lot of people, they always just like think about it and then
Yeah.
look at you now, like excelling AI and working on bettering and making it better, instead of thinking about it and
Yeah.
thinking about all of the reasons why it couldn't work or shouldn't work. You
That's
then,
right.
like, making a killing in the AI industry. It's admirable, is incredible, like to see it enveloping, like right in front of my eyes. And
Thank
like, you were again speaking in front of 2,000 people, international guests, 2,000 people. You were there speaking about it. It's just like incredible seeing you succeeding so well within the
thank you.
AI industry. um Look, I think I was very happy to have you. This is just incredible. The time that you're giving me, it's very commendable. Thank you so much. I know that you the one thing that I wanted to, before I close in this conversation, the things that nobody knows and the people that will see it on the video, we are now connecting days from Christmas. So this is to show everyone, say yes to opportunity, say speed of implementation. Somebody, you connect with somebody. There's no holidays. There's no reasons not to do it, and it's incredible to see, to show people that successful people, they get things done. They say
That's exactly
yes
right.
and get things done. That
That's
is
exactly
very,
right.
very incredible. Um,
Thank you, man.
Look, you've been so thoughtful, so great. A quick question: What did you say yes to this podcast when we met at the event? Because obviously, like, you were on stage, you were incredible, and I was just like, I just like came about and say hi. And why? What did you say yes to an Italian tailor for a podcast?
There's a couple of things, Bruno. I'll tell you. One, when someone approaches you with an opportunity like that, they see something in you that they want to connect with. And why not give it to them? If there is something that you admired or were inspired or were just interested in, why wouldn't I accept the opportunity for us to connect like this? That's one. Number two, you too, Bruno, have done amazingly well. I've watched your ascent, and it's been incredible to watch. The more we go to these various events, someone will ask how many people in the crowd have a Bruno Falcone suit on, and all these hands go up. And it's just amazing to see the number of hands that are supportive of your brand, that are interested in the high quality that you deliver, how timely it comes. And why wouldn't I want to be connected to somebody who is as successful as you are? So that's number two. And number three, I just, I'm always curious to know what other people are doing, what they're up to. And for me to be on a podcast with a gentleman who lives in Australia and I'm in the DC area in the United States, why not? So
Incredible, incredible.
there's so many different reasons. It's a really wonderful way to stay connected to people, and I
And
absolutely
and
love it. I
and
appreciated
as
the
I'm
opportunity.
and as I'm thinking about it, like, we met at events where so many celebrities go to. Just recently, your same stage was the same stage as Chris Jenner, same stage.
John
All
Paul
these,
DeJoria.
John Paul DeJoria. incredible big celebrities. The one thing that I would like you to say, because otherwise, if I say it, it doesn't. I don't know if it's as good as a strong feel. All of the celebrities, did they show up in their t-shirts? Are they billionaire? You know what I mean? All of these
Oh
celebrities
yeah,
are billionaires,
that's right.
extremely successful, right? They could afford and they could live in whatever way they decide to. How
Yeah,
do they show up on stage?
they were
And give me some
all
names.
they were all dressed to impress. So one of the things I'll remember, Kris Jenner showed up on that stage and she was done. It was makeup, it was hair, her outfit was gorgeous, shoes down to the nines. She stepped on that stage knowing that she has an image that she portrays, and she was there in front of the public who knows who she is. And she stepped on that stage in order to be her authentic self and portray that image. John Paul DeJoria, same thing, but to a different degree, right? This is a guy who's a multi-billionaire. He sold two different companies, Patron and Paul Mitchell Systems, for billions and billions of dollars. That guy could have showed up in his pajamas, but he chose to show up looking sharp. He had his black slacks, black jacket. He sat down, but he was his authentic self. He talked about the kindness in your heart and how you should engage with people. And I got to tell you, it was really funny. I don't know if you heard him say it, but when I walked out on stage, he said, "Man, you look like a movie star." And I said, "That's all right." And that's the power of showing up looking like you're ready to play. I did not know I was going to be on that stage with John Paul DeJoria that day. But I got up that morning and I put on everything that I did, knowing that there could be an opportunity for something great to happen. And I wanted to be ready for it. And that compliment, I mean, it went a long way for him to say that in front of everybody on stage. But all of them showed up dressed in their suits. Billy Ray came in his suit, and I'm trying to think of who else. Even, some of the guys, the guy who sold Quest, I can't remember his name. He came, he had his Quest hat on, but he had on his shirt and his jacket. He knew that we were at a business event, and you show up for business. And I
I
thought it
think
was really impressive.
I think it's very important to say that very successful people, they show up also, like, not even to impress. It was the motto is dress to express, because again,
Yes,
these people are billionaires, the millionaires. They show up to a conference, to an event, to a professional event, and they put together an outfit that it is translated as, I am the best at what I do. I
that's
am
right.
the top of my at the top of my game, and they decided to show up in a way that translated it to
Yeah,
exactly that. Because even Kris Jenner, I mean, she's a gorgeous woman. She could have worn a beautiful dress, a gown, and she decided to wear a suit. Like, she showed up in this beautiful tailor suit. It was gorgeous. And
yes,
actually, she also commented on a few of my clients,
yes,
and it was incredible. I mean, like, how do you pay for like a situation like that? You don't. Like, my client showed up at the very best, and they had that connection, that interaction, that moment, that extra thing that will get them to stand apart and possibly have other things right after that.
yeah.
Uh,
That was incredible, man. The branding that your clothiers got from those folks being complimented on stage it's unmatched. That's really awesome. Congratulations to you, man. That's super
no,
dope.
thank you, man. Thank you. No, look, you've been incredible. Like, thank you so much for being part of this. I do want to urge all of the people that are going to listen to this to really reflect on what it means uh, for us to be successful, because obviously it's a very subjective way to live life and to think of things. I would like to all of the people that are listening to this to also go and listen to your podcast, follow you on Instagram, YouTube, all of the socials, because you are on a journey, on a mission. You are changing people's lives. You're showing to other folks how to change their lives, and it's incredible to see unfold right in front of my eyes.
I love it.
You are incredible in your industry in AI. And look, thank you so much for being part of the show.
Thank you very much, Bruno. For anybody who wants to find me online, you can check me out at Damon L. Davis on Instagram. The Adoptee podcast is called Who Am I Really? And you can find the more business-focused podcast called Discovery Diaries with Damon Davis. You can get them anywhere you get your podcast. So Bruno Falcone, thank you so much for this time. This has been absolutely amazing, man. And I appreciate the connection. Take care, buddy.
Thank you. Thank you.